Welcome. This video module is about using a daily report card to promote student engagement. Viewing of this entire training will take approximately 20 minutes. In this brief video, information is provided to help you recognize why engagement is important to student achievement, understand how self-management can facilitate engagement, learn about a daily report card, or DRC, and how to use it to train students to self-manage their behavior. Finally, we will walk through an example of how to use a DRC with students in a classroom setting. For learning to occur, students must be engaged in educational activities. Engagement is broadly defined as a person's active involvement in a task. It is an essential component of successful outcomes. By the end of this video, we hope you will be able to recognize signs of student disconnection from learning and understand how to implement a strategy to increase engagement. First, it is important to understand more about engagement. Research has suggested that there are 4 types of student engagement. We will define the 4 types of engagement, but then focus specifically on academic engagement for the remainder of the video. Psychological engagement refers to feelings of belonging to the classroom setting and identifying as a member of the school community. For example, a student that values positive relationships with peers and teachers is likely psychologically engaged in school. Second, cognitive engagement involves the ability to self-regulate and set goals for academic success. For example, a student that conveys a positive attitude toward learning is likely cognitively engaged in school. Third, behavioral engagement might encompass attending class regularly and enjoying involvement with extracurricular activities. For example, students who actively participate in class are likely behaviorally engaged in school. Finally, there's academic engagement. When academic engagement is strong, students are interested and invested in learning. They therefore spend more time on task, thus completing more schoolwork. In this video, we will focus on introducing a strategy that is intended to increase academic engagement. Academic engagement is defined as active or passive participation in the classroom activity. Students exhibiting active participation in the classroom might be writing, raising their hand, answering a question asked by the teacher, talking about a lesson with a classmate, or reading silently at his or her desk. Students exhibiting passive participation might be listening to the teacher give instructions or looking at instructional materials. Here is a short clip showing instructional activity in a classroom setting. We ask you to focus on Bob. Watch how Bob displays academic engagement in this short clip.
You don't want to lose any of your pieces or you won't be able to make them. Let's see, it looks like we have 2 triangles here for his arms. One's going this way. Right? One's going this way. There we go. And the other one is going this way. So we need our 2 small triangles here. And then the 2 large ones for his body. One here. And one here.
Note how Bob displays academic engagement by following teacher directions and actively participating in the assigned task. Now let's consider academic unengagement. Academic unengagement is defined as not actively or passively participating in the classroom activity. Students who are not actively participating in the classroom might be looking around the room, doodling on his or her paper, aimlessly flipping through textbooks, or engaging in any other activity unrelated to the instructional task presented to the student. Here is a short clip showing instructional activity in a classroom setting. We ask you to focus on Jessie. Watch how Jessie displays academic unengagement in this brief clip.
A little bit about time. We learned a few different things on our plaque. And we've been talking about O clack. Where is the long minute hand on an O clack? Who knows? Yes. Pointing to the 12, right. So this, Bob, is 2 o'clock. Exactly. What about half past? What about half past? Jillian? What number It's pointing to the 6, right? Another way to say that is 30. So this clack would be saying 2.
Notice that Jessie displays academic unengagement by not looking at the teacher while she speaks and not participating in the classroom activity. Strategies to increase engagement can be grouped under either teacher-mediated or student-mediated. As implied, teacher-mediated means that the adult is most responsible for strategy implementation. For example, the teacher might use interactive teaching strategies with students, establish consistent routines, or create small learning groups for use during instruction whenever appropriate. In contrast, student-mediated strategies mean that the student is most responsible for strategy implementation to improve engagement. For example, students might self-monitor learning during instructional activity or self-manage their classroom behavior. In particular, self-management can be a very useful strategy and will be the focus of our presentation. With self-management, students are empowered to record and evaluate their behavior with minimal assistance from teachers or other staff. Self-management offers an opportunity for students to learn to self-regulate behavior without overburdening teacher time. Self-management is a broad term that is used to describe a lot of different techniques. However, for our purposes, we use it to describe an intervention that teaches students to observe and reflect upon their own behavior. The student, often jointly with an adult, determines goals he or she has for behavior in the classroom, then self-monitors progress by recording behavior on a daily report card, or a DRC. If the student meets his or her goals for the day, the student receives reinforcement. Next, we will demonstrate exactly how this can be done. A DRC is a tool with endless possibilities for design and utilization. It can be created for use with any type of student, regardless of age, grade level, or ability level. For example, it might be formatted to include either pictures or words. Goals can be assessed on a number scale. For example, how engaged was Johnny on a scale from 0 to 10? Or offer a yes-no rating. For example, was Johnny engaged during class today? Yes or no? The DRC can total any sum of points desired. The DRC can be individualized any number of ways. Implementation of a DRC strategy involves a few critical steps. First, it is essential to define behaviors of interest and decide on appropriate goals. Then, you must select when and how often the rating will occur. The DRC must be prepared for use during these occasions. Then, you must conduct the ratings using the DRC. Finally, evaluation and recording of the ratings must occur. Next, let's break down how to use a DRC into a little more detail and integrate examples of how to use the DRC with the student in a classroom setting. Please note that although DRC may be individualized for any student, our example will demonstrate how to use a DRC most appropriate for an older student, such as a student in an upper elementary school grade. As previously noted, Step 1 involves defining target behaviors. Target behaviors should be defined to strengthen student weaknesses. In the following clip, watch how the teacher determines goals with Ramona, a 4th grade student, by discussing target behaviors she would like to see strengthened. Note that devising goals for the DRC can be a collaborative process with the student. However, in this example, the teacher directs most of the discussion. So Ramona, I've asked you to sit down with me today because I want to start using a tool with you that I think will help you do even better in school than you're already doing. Okay? Sound good? It's called a daily report card, and what it entails is you monitoring your progress on 3 goals that we're going to pick right now. So we're going to tailor this so that it's perfect for you. Sound good? Okay. So first I was thinking, I noticed that sometimes you have a little bit of difficulty following some of the class rules that we have posted. And I was thinking maybe we might make your first goal one that involves following classroom rules. What do you think? Okay, all right. So we need to make the goal something where it needs to be worded so that your answer to the question that we're going to write is a rating from 0 to 10. So what I mean by that is we're going to take your goal of wanting to follow class rules and make a question out of it, okay? So I'm thinking, how well did I follow class rules? How does that sound? Good? Okay, so I'm going to write that down. And you know the class rules are posted in the classroom, right? So they're there to remind you, and you can think about the rules when you're looking at the board, you can also think about it when you look at this piece of paper. It can remind you that you're going to try to follow the class rules. Okay? The next goal I think we should try to work on is maybe, I notice sometimes you have difficulty paying attention in class. Have you noticed that? Yeah, it can be hard sometimes. So let's think of a way we can word that goal so that you can make sure you try to improve how much you pay attention in class. So how about, have you heard of the word engaged before?
No.
Okay, well, engaged is like another word for attention. So it means that you're looking at the teacher when she's talking, or you're doing your work when you're supposed to. So if I say, how engaged was I during class, you'll know that I mean, how much did I participate? Was I following the instructions of the teacher? How involved was I? Does that sound good? Okay, so the third goal I think we should work on is maybe completing your classwork, right? I think the third goal should be, how well did I complete my classwork for the day? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to write that as the third goal. Perfect.
Ramona will work towards strengthening target behaviors by monitoring her progress on these 3 goals. Next, it is helpful to provide students with specific examples to clarify what is meant by the goals you've outlined. In Ramona's case, whether she followed class rules or not might depend on if she arrived to class on time or asked to use the hall pass before leaving the classroom. Next, when demonstrating high levels of academic engagement, she might be paying attention to the teacher and participating in class discussions, and whether or not she completed her classwork might depend on if she spent time doing her work and finishing before the end of the class period. Next, it's important to decide when and how frequently the student should rate his or her behavior. In Ramona's case, Ramona's teacher has decided that she would like Ramona to monitor her behavior during English Language Arts class and make her rating just once a day after the class period ends. Before this can occur, Ramona must sit down with her teacher so that her teacher can train her to use the daily report card. In this brief clip, watch how the teacher trains Ramona to use the DRC every day.
So Ramona, before I told you a little bit about how we set up the daily report card, and now I'm going to show you how to use it, okay? So as you recall, we came up with 3 goals. Your first goal is, how well did I follow class rules? Your second goal is, how engaged was I during class? And your third goal is, how well did I complete my classwork? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So the way that this is going to work is when you come into class each day, I'm going to hand you the DRC. You're going to write your name at the top of it, okay? Then you're going to write the date, and you're going to have it all set up for you to use at the end of class.
Okay.
You're going to read through the goals that we made up together, and at the end of class, you are going to decide how well you did on each of these goals. So we have a scale from 0 to 10. 0 means you did not so great with your goal that day. 5 means you did pretty well, and 10 means you did a very good job. Does that make sense? All right. So at the end of class, you're going to take out your DRC, either from, it can be on your desk, or maybe you'll have it inside your desk, someplace where you can see it pretty easily though, so it can remind you during class what your goals are. And then you are going to, at the end of class, make your ratings. So you're going to think, how well did I follow class rules today? And you're going to decide on a scale of 0 to 10 how well you think you did. Okay? Then you're going to look at how engaged was I during class, decide from a scale of 0 to 10 how well you think you participated, how involved you were, how well you think you followed the teacher's instructions. Okay? All right, and then you're going to think, how well did I complete my classwork, and make your rating on a scale of 0 to 10. Again, 0 means you didn't complete your classwork, and 10 means you completed all of your classwork. Make sense? Okay.
Upon the completion of this training, Ramona can begin to self-manage her behavior, and specifically track progress on the 3 goals that she and her teacher have outlined on the DRC. As previously mentioned in the clip, each day, Ramona will come into class and pick up a copy of the DRC before taking a seat. Her teacher likes to have the goals and examples pre-printed on the DRC so that Ramona just fills in the name and date. If time permits, Ramona's teacher likes to review the DRC with Ramona prior to class starting each day. As previously mentioned, Ramona and her teacher meet to review and rate Ramona's behavior at the end of class. However, throughout the class period, Ramona's teacher tries to prompt Ramona to self-manage her behavior continuously. Ramona and her teacher then meet to conduct their ratings. These ratings are used to evaluate Ramona's progress on her 3 goals. Okay, so now that it's after class, you're going to take your DRC and you're going to rate your behavior. So go ahead and make your ratings on your scale. First, Ramona will make her ratings on the DRC. Then, the teacher will use the same scales to make her ratings. This will start a conversation between the pair about Ramona's behavior throughout the period. Ramona and her teacher will evaluate Ramona's behavior by making a comparison of their ratings. So let's talk a little bit about the ratings we both made. You put that you followed classroom rules about an 8 out of 10 today, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I also put 8. I thought you did a very good job. There was one time I noticed that you got out of your seat and you went to take the pass without asking, and then you left the classroom. And one of the rules of the class is that you don't take the pass without asking permission. So tomorrow, I'd like you to try to ask me before you leave the classroom. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Engagement. How engaged were you during class today? You gave yourself an 8, and I gave you a 7. Maybe tomorrow you can work a little bit harder on making sure your book is out and reading when I ask you to read. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Okay, good. And the last rating, how well did you complete your classwork? You said 7, and I gave you a 10 because I thought you did your classwork today. Now that Ramona and her teacher have reviewed Ramona's behavior and discussed the ratings made on the scales, it's time to evaluate Ramona's overall performance. Some teachers prefer to use an average rating of the 3 scales. Ramona's teacher likes to calculate a total score. So let's go ahead and add up our score. Ramona's teacher chooses to use her own ratings in red to devise a combined score of 25. She then offers Ramona an incentive to earn bonus points. You get a bonus point if our ratings match or come within 1 point. So it looks like you get 2 bonus points today. Right?
Okay.
Excellent. So I'm going to add the bonus points to the bottom. Once the bonus points are factored into the total score, the teacher may want to review the DRC for accuracy and add any notes to the bottom of the page. Ramona's teacher devises a total score of 27 for the day and writes a note at the bottom of the DRC prompting Ramona to follow classroom rules in the future. DRC data can be used to monitor progress over time. You may want to graph weekly progress with the student or monitor progress over a longer span of time. Thank you for viewing this video module. For more information about DRC tools and assessment and intervention, please log on to www.directbehaviorratings.com.